Oh, but just quickly in terms of the George Floyd case itself, I felt bad about replying on Twitter to Aunt Tom James that she was a race pimp. Well, she is, but she's scum, and but like she's got scum above her, like the Anglo-German Irish ruling class, which is even filthier. Um, but basically, what in terms of 4 years ago, George Floyd, he was a criminal and a junkie, and it's from what I've seen of the what do they call them, post-mortem, when the coroner comes in and does an examination, basically it seems that he died of a drug overdose. He was on fentanyl. But I looked at fairly closely the reports on how Chauvin and his fellow pigs acted. Really, it was Chauvin. He was lead pig, and the other pigs were pigs in training. And like some of them, most of them on their first day of training, God. But he was on Floyd's neck too long, and maybe did he contribute to Floyd's death? Well, he certainly didn't. Yeah, he certainly didn't help Floyd. I mean, were they able to ascertain that Floyd was going through an OD? Floyd did resist arrest or resist getting in the squad roll. Now, I think, what did he say? I can't breathe. Okay, well, yeah, like, okay, there are other restraint techniques, like maybe Chauvin the pig just said, okay, hold down each of his limbs, or, we cuff him, and then we put him on the curb, and then we call him an ambulance. Yeah, that probably in a normal country, that's what they would do, I would think. But pigs like Chauvin are a normal part of capitalism, and America's the number one capitalist country in the world, and these phony crocodile tears from on Tom's like Letitia James or all the other scumbags like in Chicago. It's just nonsense. I mean, you don't give a fuck about black janitors. I mean, I drove the janitors around at O'Hare, most of whom were black, and this Nazi whore commissioner. I didn't hear a peep from her about don't steal the work of these black janitors from the ghetto. Don't bring in scabs from Mexico, Ukraine, and Indiana to steal their work. And in fact, when I refused to transport the scabs because they didn't have city IDs and I was driving the city bus, they went after me. They gave me a phony, fraudulent drug test to try and intimidate me, and I was like, "Fuck you," shove it up your ass. You're a scab herd. My people died in Soviet Belarus for basically a worker state, and you fucking Nazi whores and Uncle Tom's, yeah, Motis Elian, he and this other wetback piece of shit, Dirty Sanchez, Carlos Sanchez, our fake union representative, sent me on another drug test after I said the city was a plantation, which it is. I'm so glad to be out of there. Fuck all of you. But basically scum like that, they need to be shot. They were shot here, and that's why St. Petersburg is so much better. You don't have to worry about goons here the way you do in a shithole like Chicago, or random fucking violence on the streets, or criminals running wild on the streets like you do in Chicago, because that sort of fucking filth, that got shot, and that still gets locked up and beaten here. They don't get fucking political clout. They don't get jobs with the city like they, some of my coworkers were fucking drug trafficking, fucking filth. Or, some of this wetback filth that was scabbing on the black workers that I drove around. You need a bullet. And that's what happened here was, that's the difference is, Russia is the number one revolutionary country 100 years ago. America is the number one capitalist country, and you see the results. Here, 17,000 Tsarist officials, mostly pigs, were shot, in the, whatever it was, 40 years in the run-up to the Russian Revolution. All right? You want to complain about, defunding the police? Hell, they shot them here by the thousands. Half of this town was burned down by the youth 100 years ago, or maybe it was in Dostoevsky's time, so it was probably, it was longer than 100 years ago, but, they were literally fucking shit up here. It wasn't an anarchist color revolution phrase like America. It was, they were torching, in the buildings in the center of town, they were like aristocratic merchant mansions, and they were getting lit up and burned down. Because the peasants were getting squeezed. These scum were basically trying to create a class of kulaks, and the peasants were living collectively in the Mir, and they were like, no, we want to live collectively in the Mir. Making some of us rich cunts who exploit the majority of us, that's not acceptable. And and the Tsar, that was their solution, was capitalism. Feudalism, capitalism, and it ended up in a better, one of the best solutions, which was to overthrow the capitalist system into first cooperatives, then collectives, and, okay, that's another story, but what else? And the Tsar and his family, for, their troubles, for exploiting the peasants and shooting them down or shooting workers. First the pigs got shot, Lenin bless. And then the Tsar and his family got shot and dissolved in acid and poured down a mine shaft in Sverdlovsk, now misnamed Yekaterinburg. And the churches were expropriated, and still, most people don't go to church here, so, and, they're not hung up on, bullshit identity politics and, just prudishness like these Anglo liberal fucks, in the West. And, by contrast in America, merchant criminal scum have dominated, basically all of the history of America. There's been some resistance, Shays' Rebellion, which led to the Bill of Rights, the Continental Congress. Veterans rebelled, and they had to say, okay, first you have the right to free speech, second you have the right to carry guns, civilian, military, and other weaponry, because we know you don't trust us, and you're not going to allow a centralized government without the right to fucking shoot us, if we steal too much. Which is what, scum like George Washington was doing with his real estate speculator friends, which, Thomas Paine pointed out at the founding of the country. And then, 1865 to 1886, the working class, led by the heroic revolutionary German immigrants who had been thrown out of Europe for trying to create some sort of social democracy. They rebelled against the capitalists here and, threw bombs at them, threw bombs at the pigs, like they did over here. And, the ruling class, unfortunately, in America was so powerful and the working class was so weak that they were able to basically crush the workers' movement, in 1886. And, basically shit all over, my land. You had a brief period of rebellion in the 1930s in America, and even smaller in the 1970s. And, I guess 30s to 70s, life was good, but then you had the anti-communist purge, Pax Americana, spoils of imperialism, but then from the 70s, capitalism started to take a shit again, and the liberals came back, right wing and left wing, right and further right, not right wing and left wing, right and further right liberals, and basically, crushed labor again. Um, not that the working class was that strong or conscious. I remember some of the class awareness, I guess, growing up in basically a social democratic family. But uh, yeah, that was crushed from like 1975 in America. So what then? Yeah, so, now we're in the mess we're in now, and we've had the color revolutions from 4 years ago, and the populists, that are coming back, which, objectively are more left than the liberal filth, like Letitia James, or Hillary Clinton, or Bill Clinton, or Barack Obama. Ugh, filthy, just an absolute betrayal of, you know, eh, eh, any decent workers' movement, just, I hate liberals. And, so does half the country, and they're going to get their asses kicked in November. But, are these right wing populists going to have a solution for when the economy crashes? We'll see. Yeah, maybe the masses will demand, some sort of shitty right wing mafia New Deal, because there's, if there's real mass unemployment, let's say 40%, not 20%, like there probably is now. And with all the speculation, 70% speculation probably. Yeah, the grocery prices in America are double, even when you adjust for purchasing power parity compared to here, the former Soviet Union. All those pressures. I'm going to guess after November they're coming together, and there's going to be a social explosion. And, Lenin and Dzerzhinsky bless. I just hope the chaos lasts long enough for me to walk in there and take out, trash in Chicago. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. It's just so much filth. Half that city is filth. So.